Life Stories Live.
Life Story from Life Stories Worldwide. It's great to have you with us, new people with us from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. Welcome also the people from Ukraine who are joining us, and anyone from the Torch Trust who may be listening. If you need any help, need anyone to talk to, then you can contact us on our hotline, +44 794 355 0287. You can also go to our website, LifeStoriesWorldwide.com. There you'll find lots of information. You'll find lots of help, different things that will encourage you. But tonight we have a guest speaker from England. We've been all over the world, but we're back in the UK tonight with Ian Jones. Ian is a very interesting story about puppets. He went to a tent crusade when he was 13 and it had a bit impact upon his life. He got involved in catering, but then at 26, he lost his job. And then he went to work with youth and children. And he went to a spring harvest where he saw puppets and he got interested in puppets. And from that has come puppet power, which Ian will share about tonight. So I'm going to hand over to Ian, and George is going to interview Ian tonight. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Alan. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ian. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, and good
Excellent.
evening, and thank you for inviting me tonight.
Excellent. Now, as Alan mentioned, of course, you're a puppeteer. For those of us watching who don't know what a puppeteer is, can you explain exactly what a puppeteer is?
A puppeteer is someone that uses a puppet, and in case you're not familiar with the type of puppets that we use, I've got one here which I can show you. This is one of our lamb puppets. So our puppets, being in more Western Europe, are the fur and fabric as opposed to the marionette type, which are operated by strings.
Mm-hmm.
So all our puppets are operated with your hand going into them, and then you can move the mouth to sing or to talk, and then we've got their arms here that we can move as well. So we bring the puppets alive using our hand, and the big characters, a bit like the Muppet puppets, the Muppets that we know from TV. Muppets are still on TV a lot, but these are the big kind of characters that we build ourselves here in Grimsby in the UK.
Excellent. Now, you weren't always a puppeteer, of course, and did you grow up in Grimsby itself originally, or?
I grew up in Hull.
Okay.
Just across the River Humber, only about 2 or 3 miles away, literally. But now I grew up in Hull, and as you said, I went to church. I was a choir boy in our local church, and my parents were Christians, and we kind of grew up always kind of knowing about God and Jesus and being part of a church. But it really became more real, as you said, at this tent crusade, and it was my first experience of church outside church, if you can, you follow me. And it had quite an impact on me, because you've got there people who are Christians, who are passionate about sharing the gospel, and it was quite different for me because I've been brought up in church and with scouts and different things. We said prayers. But this was something kind of out of my normal kind of experience and involvement. And that had quite an impact on me. And I guess it probably was the early thing that set me on a course where, 50 years later, whatever, nearly 50 years later, I'm where I am now.
Still playing with puppets.
No, my wife says one day I might grow up, but yeah. I wouldn't hold your breath on that, really, because people my family and where I worship in our local Baptist church, they're not expecting it to happen anytime soon. either, really. But it doesn't say anything in the Bible about you needing to grow up, I don't think, or not that I've seen.
Now, you said, of course, that you always went to church with your family, your mum and dad and that. So normally kids like yourself growing up in a Christian family, they tend to rebel and, become a bit naughty. Were you a good kid or did you go off the rails at any stage?
I wouldn't say I went off the rails, but equally, I wasn't an angel as all most kids were. But I didn't. I kind of go off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
I was confirmed when I was 13 in our church, and that was, that was meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was special. So when I did a couple of years in Hull at catering college, and then I went to Torquay, which was where my father was from, South Devon, and Torquay being like the centre of, or big hotel industry. I was doing hotel and catering management, so Torquay was a great place to go and somewhere that I was familiar with and really, really loved. So when I moved there to go to college for 2 years, I kept on in the church and going to church
Mm-hmm.
and being involved, not in the church, but a regular attender. And
Okay.
it was meaningful to me then. And we, kind of kept on through that. And then from going to catering college, I particularly enjoyed, for some reason, the accounting side of it. Part of hotel management was management and financial management and accounts. So from training in catering, my first job was at the Dorchester Hotel on Park Lane.
Wow.
Not as a guest or enjoying the facilities, but in the accounts office.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I could combine my enjoyment and love for accounts and working in the hotel and catering industry there. But it's from that I then started to think more about studying for accountancy rather than just doing it on the back of my catering qualifications.
Now, of
So
course, yeah, I was just going to say, accountants, of course, have a reputation of being boring. What was it about accountancy that attracted you?
I was never really in that mold or mindset. Because from there, I did a couple of jobs. I worked, moved up to Leicester to work at Next Retail, the retail shops, and then was doing my professional accountancy exams then become a certified accountant. That was becoming more significant when we were in London at the Dorchester. we went to London Mission,
Okay.
Mission to London with Louis Pallo. And there my wife made a commitment. And again, it was a further step in our faith and our journey, and becoming more real.
Mm-hmm.
Faith was becoming more real to us. But as when I was at Leicester, that I lost my job, kind of a huge shock. Just one day, you've got a job and then you haven't. Jenny was expecting our first child. And then from that, we went to, that was on like a Friday. On the Sunday, we went to my brother's church in Derby. And I can always remember it, we were wanting encouragement with so much uncertainty. And then we kind of went to this church and picked up the notice sheet, and the passage from 2 Corinthians was said, without were fightings, within were fears, but God who comforts the righteous comforted me. And that was, I think, probably one of the first time that we felt God speaking to us from his scriptures in a real and personal way. That passage was everything.
Excellent.
Outside was chaos. Inside we were fearful, but God was with us. That's what he said.
Yeah. Excellent.
And from there we got a job up in Grimsby, and that was 31 years ago, and we've been there ever since, which
Excellent.
happens round here.
Now, before that, of course, you mentioned about the local tent crusade. What was it about the tent crusade that really impressed you? What impression did it make on you?
I think for the people that were speaking and they were giving testimonies and preaching, it was different. It was real. I mean, our local church, when you're as a choir boy, you go to the services, you participate, but I don't think it didn't come across as being real, or for me.
Okay.
And I think that the impact of that has lasted. That to have a faith, it's personal. It's about a personal relationship, and if you've got that personal relationship, it's about being passionate. How can you not be passionate about God who knows us and loves us? And that's what was real to me, and that's what kind of had the deep and the lasting impression and impact on me.
And when was the defining moment in your life that you came to find that personal relationship with God or with Jesus?
I think it was when, at that time when I was made redundant, we went to church, and at that point in that service, when I was in fear, I said, over to you. You can, it's difficult sometimes to pinpoint one moment, isn't it? Because on a walk, you're on a journey, and but I think it was at that point that something changed, and it became real. And where I'd gone to church, I'd kept on going to church in London with the London's mission to London. It was real for the church that we were at. It was real for the church in Leicester. But when we came to Grimsby, the welcome we received, and then within a year or two, I finished my accounting exams, which then gave me more time. And it was at that point that I got more involved in the children's work in the church. And I was then able to share my faith. And as running a youth club, it wasn't anything to do with puppets at that point. But my faith had gone from being something that I was taught to something that I wanted to share. and that's since then I've been on that journey, wanting to share the gospel, be it in youth club or with the puppets.
So before that defining moment in your life, you said you'd always gone to church. I mean, did you feel you were a Christian then, or was it just habit that you had formed from your parents or something like that?
I think I felt I was a Christian. I mean, I went to church, so I must have been, mustn't I?
You tell me.
But we can go through the motions in lots of different ways. But being a Christian is more than going to church or reading the Bible or praying. It's about that personal relationship. None of those make us a Christian. It's accepting what Jesus did for us when he died on the cross, that it comes personal. So I would have said I was a Christian all those years. The different landmarks of the crusade being confirmed were increasing my understanding and as God drawing me closer to him, speaking with these in different ways, but not absolutely kind of making that Damascus Road experience where I was suddenly changed and converted.
Excellent. You mentioned your brother. Tell us a little bit more about your family, about many brothers and sisters you have.
I've got three brothers, and very blessed. They're not particularly local. I'm in Grimsby. I've got one in Leeds, Derby, and Guildford down south. But all four of us are strong Christians, going to church and involved in different groups and activities in our ministry and our walk, all sorts of different churches, but
LifeStories Live. Life Stories.
I think we'd all call ourselves Christians and be witnessing Christians through how we live and how we work and in our churches that we're involved with.
So how important then do you think it is then to share the gospel and, as you say, be a witness for Christ? How important is that, do you think?
It's vital now, isn't it? It's everything, because it's what Christ commanded us to do, to go and be witnesses. And having known and experienced the transforming reality of knowing Jesus for ourselves, and children and adults, we want to share that good news, and the reality of that. It's what we're involved with now, and everything that we do on a weekly basis. That we're so involved in the church and the ministry of One Way UK.
Now, I was going to say that because you chose a different way, of course, to be a witness. Why did you choose puppets, and how did you want to become a puppeteer in the first place?
Well, we never wanted to become a puppeteer. It was kind of, I'd never, I wouldn't even say I was a great fan of the Muppets, or, you know, I love puppets and catching them on TV, but I wasn't kind of a die-hard puppet follower or fan. But when we went to Spring Harvest one year, we saw Jim Bailey, and he'd got these spicy camels, and they were just kind of spitting horrible animals, you know. But you know, it connected with me,
Right.
and we thought that's absolutely great. And from kind of that, we were going to a children's ministry conference that was held annually at Eastbourne, and we went to that. And One Way UK were going to be there, and they did puppets.
Right.
So 4 of us went there, and I went to 2 or 3 different puppet workshops, and from that, my life turned around, because we came back to our church, and I hand built a puppet.
Right.
And she was a bit rough, bless her. We did this song, and it was called "My Hands Belong to You, Lord." And we didn't have any puppet theatre. You know, like when you do puppets, you're behind a screen.
Correct, yeah.
So that all they see is a puppet above your head. We hadn't got any screen. We literally had 2 people holding a broomstick, a brush that we'd got from the cleaner's cupboard, with an old curtain pinned on it. I mean, it even had the broom head on it. It was, we didn't bother with just a pole. It was a brush. And I was behind it, and I did this puppet, and the song was "My Hands Belong to You, Lord. My hands belong to you." And then the second verse is "My voice belongs to you, Lord. My voice belongs to you." And then the third verse is "My heart belongs to you, Lord." And we use this a lot of times in our training, because in a way it summarizes, it's everything that we do, everything that we say, and everything that we are belongs to God.
Excellent.
And if we give everything to God, then he can use us.
Amen.
And because I was behind the curtain, I couldn't see the reaction from the congregation. But the people in the worship group who were facing the congregation said, you know, you could have, you know, they were just like mesmerized in a way and moved.
Excellent.
And from that, we then said, well, we want to do this. So if people would want to get involved with this puppet ministry, then we're going to go to a One Way UK training day. That's an hour away. And from that, we got about 10 people. So about 5 or 6 adults and four or five adults, 4, 5, 6 children. And that was the birth of our Puppet Power team 22 years ago.
Excellent. So your team is called Puppet Power, is that correct?
It's Puppet Power at Grimsby Baptist Church. That's right. Yes. So we started that, and that was kind of our ministry within the church. And we thought and started it so that we'd use puppets in all age worship, or maybe at a holiday club, or in services. And we didn't have any idea how much it would completely take over. Puppets have got a sneaky habit of doing that. If anyone's got puppets out there, then you'll know what I mean. They kind of creep in and then take over your life. And there may be people sat at home now with a puppet by them, thinking, yes, it happens. But from that, you know, we had more people engaged with the team. And the biggest witness, you know, you can talk and talk and talk, but if people can see what you do, then they say, you know, pictures take paint 1,000 words. So after about a year, the team had grown a bit. 2 years, we'd got up to 20 people in the team, over half of them children. And we realized then that there's something special in this puppet ministry, because our first idea was the puppets are a great way to share the gospel for teaching, which they absolutely are. But the thing is, what we didn't appreciate until, after we'd started, was that the children who are coming and being involved in the puppets were hearing the gospel and becoming evangelists by what we do.
Excellent.
And the puppets provide a very special and unique opportunity where, and our son was a prime case, he's 32 now, that too shy to stand up in church. If you ask your kids, your teenagers, would you like to come and stand up and do a drama at the front of church?
Oh no, can't do that.
Half of them would have run a mile.
Yeah.
But behind the stage curtain, you can't be seen. So if you can't sing, it doesn't matter, because the puppets are miming.
Life Stories Live.